I want you to change the world, and don't think that this is going to happen peacefully or you can do it alone. We need to kill the rich. You get out there, you use your weapons, and you rip Washington apart. You hunt down the billionaires, the bank bosses, the CEOs, the scumbags and the liars, the governors, the lobbyists, the senators, because they're all the same, and you hang them.
Good morning, everyone. April 28th, 2018. Merrick, how you doing? I'm here at Zero Hedge. A U.S. ally is literally beheading people over nonviolent drug charges. This comes from Carrie Welder of Anti-Media. Saudi Arabia, the United States' main ally in the Middle East, has executed 48 people so far this year, half of them over nonviolent drug charges, Human Rights Watch reported this week. Many more people convicted of drug crimes remain on death row following convictions by Saudi Arabia's notoriously unfair criminal justice system, the advocacy group said in a release. Though Human Rights Watch did not specifically or specify the method of execution, The Guardian classified the 48 killings as beheadings, and the Saudi government has a reputation for this type of sentence. Saudi Arabia has carried out nearly 600 executions since the beginning of 2014, over 200 of them in drug cases. The vast majority of the remainder were for murder, but other offenses included rape, incest, terrorism, and sorcery. Well, rape and terrorism are definitely good reasons to get rid of an individual. As far back as 2004, CBS reported that the Saudi government beheaded 52 men and 1 woman last year for crimes including murder, homosexuality, armed robbery, and drug trafficking, adding that the kingdom argues the practice is acceptable under Islamic law, which governs the country. There's some more cultural enrichment for you. At the same time, they condemn beheadings by militant groups. No, it's okay if the state does it. Duh. CBS noted that while Islam allows for the death penalty, few mainstream Muslim scholars and observers believe beheadings are sanctioned by Sharia or Islamic law. Nevertheless, the Saudi government has continued the practice, beheading 157 people in 2015, the highest since 1995, when 192 were executed. Nonviolent drug offenders were among those killed that year as well. Human Rights Watch found that of the first 100 prisoners executed in 2015, 56 had been based on judicial discretion and not for crimes for which Islamic law mandates a specific death penalty punishment, The Guardian noted at the time. So, Islamic law doesn't even mandate the death penalty for such an offense, yet Saudi Arabia, one of our government's main allies, is doing it. In its latest update, Human Rights Watch discussed the difficulty of obtaining a fair trial in Saudi Arabia, highlighting that, among other issues, long-standing due process violations in Saudi Arabia's criminal justice system that makes it difficult for a defendant to get a fair trial, even in capital cases. And look, we don't get fair trials in the United States either. Don't be fooled by the bullshit about you're guilty until proven innocent, or that's actually how it is. You are guilty until proven innocent, not the other way around. You want to know why the conviction rate is so high? It's because people are stranded in jail for sometimes as much as 5 years at a time before they even get to go to trial. And it's just more practical to make a deal with the district attorney. And most of the time, if you make a deal with the district attorney, you can stipulate that the deal has to include no prison time, and a lot of people end up not going to prison and yet getting the conviction as a result. Even if they didn't do it, people plead guilty to something else. It's the American way. It's your way to get out of jail here. I mean, are we, is our criminal justice system better than Saudi Arabia? Well, yeah. Our culture overall is better than Saudi Arabia, but that doesn't mean the way it is run is acceptable. The organization said, and that's Human Rights Watch, said that in cases they analyzed, authorities did not always inform suspects of the charges against them or allow them to access to evidence even after trial sessions began. The kingdom also criminalizes protest and received widespread condemnation in 2017 for its efforts to execute 14 Shia minority demonstrators who protested during the Arab Spring. One of those protesters was a Saudi student who was arrested on his way to study abroad in the United States, and an advocacy group's appeals to President Trump to intervene on his behalf. The White House offered no indication it intended to help him. Others have spoken out against the monarch, who spoke out against the monarch have faced floggings and crucifixions. Nevertheless, in 2015, the kingdom's representatives to the UN Human Rights Council, Bandar al-Ban, insisted the death penalty is applied only to those who can commit heinous crimes that threaten security. No, it's always under the guise of security, right? Though the country's crown prince Mohammed bin Salman has expressed his intent to reform the country and reduce the number of executions, its extremist roots make this a daunting task that will likely take a significant amount of time, considering the Saudi kingdom has funded the spread of radical Islam around the world and has also been linked to financial sponsorship of ISIS and the 9/11 terror attacks. It is not surprising they continue to impose the death penalty against even non-violent offenders, that they are one of the top executioners in the world. Meanwhile, the U.S. government remains fixated on largely unsubstantiated claims of atrocities by geopolitical rivals in the region, failing to display the modicum of principle in its ultimately tepid opposition to oppression and radicalism as it continues to facilitate the sales of billions of dollars worth of weaponry to extremist regimes. Now, I recall Donald Trump promising to release all the evidence concerning 9/11. Hasn't done it. But we all know who was involved. We all know it was Saudi Arabia and Israel and the faction, the neocons here in our own government. Well, and we all know that Donald Trump backtracked on whether jet fuel can melt beams, because he did. He backtracked on that and said that 1700 degrees must be just too much for any structure to handle. So much for that, right? So, in some ways, Donald Trump goes against the grain, but very, very few. In most other ways, he sticks with the program. He sticks with the globalist program, the banker program, the elitist program, because he's not an outsider. He's an elitist. And as one of my subs said in comment section, he wants to be or have the power that the Clintons have. And that makes sense. Till next time, people, kill the state before the state kills you.